The fortune teller's fist pounded on the door as if someone's life depended on it, and as it turned out later, it did. Run! Run now, or you'll lose everything. She was shouting through the oak door, her voice rough with panic, and it made me flinch and instinctively wrap my arms around my belly, where my twins were growing, 7 months along. I stood in the middle of the living room, one hand holding a mug of cold tea, the other pressed to my round stomach, unable to understand what was happening. Rose, the fortune teller who sometimes showed up in our small town, had never barged into anyone's life like this before. Catherine, for your children's sake, run now. To the garden, behind the gazebo, and don't come out until I tell you. Her voice grew more desperate, and something in it, some ancient, primal fear, made me believe her. I didn't even have time to grab my jacket. I just slipped out the back door in my house slippers, barefoot, wearing a thin home dress that barely covered my huge belly. The April air was still chilly, and I was shivering, whether from cold or fear, I couldn't tell, while hiding behind the old gazebo Jason and I had built in our first year of marriage. I still remember how he laughed back then, saying he wasn't exactly handy when he couldn't get one board to sit straight. It's okay, Katie. At least it's built with love. He'd kissed the top of my head. Where was that love now? 5 minutes later, the longest 5 minutes of my life, I heard the sound of his car engine. Jason's black Mercedes, the one he treated like a baby. But something was wrong. The way he got out of the car, sharp, jerky, like a puppet controlled by some mad puppeteer. And his eyes. God, even from behind the jasmine bushes I could see them, glassy, empty, terrifying. Then I saw the knife. Just a regular kitchen knife from the set I'd picked out at IKEA 2 years ago, dreaming of all the dinners I'd cook for my beloved husband. Jason was gripping it so tightly his knuckles were white, walking toward the house with that determined gait I'd only seen in nightmares, the walk of someone about to do something irreversible. Rose met him at the door. She stood there with her arms spread like wings, blocking the entrance, saying something quickly in her soft, melodic voice. Jason stopped, swayed, and the knife slipped from his hand, clattering onto the stone path. What am I doing?" he whispered, his voice suddenly human again, familiar, mine. But then his face twisted in rage. "Where is she? Where's that bitch and her bastards?" Those words hit harder than any knife could. Bastards? He'd called our babies, the children we'd prayed for, fought for through 3 years of endless treatments, bastards. Tears streamed down my face, hot and salty, but I bit my lip to keep from crying out. Rose said something to him, low but firm, and suddenly Jason went limp, like all the air had been sucked out of him. "Valerie. Valerie told me," he muttered, collapsing to his knees right there on our doorstep, the house where we'd been happy just yesterday. Valerie. Of course. His secretary. 23, legs for miles, ambition higher than the sky. I'd known about her, women always know, even when they stay silent. I'd smelled her perfume on his shirts, seen the faint hickeys he tried to hide under his collar, noticed how his late nights at the office always happened on Wednesdays and Fridays. But I stayed quiet, because I was pregnant, because I hoped it would pass, because I still loved the fool. "Catherine, you can come out now," Rose called, and leaning against the gazebo wall, I hobbled toward the house. Jason was sitting on the porch, head in his hands, crying. My strong, confident husband, who hadn't shed a tear even at his father's funeral, was sobbing like a child. "What did she give him?" I asked Rose, avoiding looking at him. "She slipped him a herb that clouds the mind, whispered a curse over it. Wanted your place, and to get rid of your babies. But that painted fool didn't know we've got eyes and ears everywhere. My niece works at the same beauty salon where she bragged to her friends yesterday about how clever she'd been." I sank down onto the step beside Jason, not out of forgiveness, but because my legs could no longer hold me. 7 months pregnant with twins, it's no joke, and with all this stress. "Catherine, forgive me, please," Jason choked out, reaching for me. "Don't touch me," I said quietly but firmly. "You tried to kill me, and our children. You called them." My voice broke. I couldn't bring myself to repeat that awful word. Rose sat beside me and took my hand. Her palm was warm and dry, smelling of herbs and smoke. "It wasn't him talking, sweetheart. It was the poison, the herb she used." But then she turned to Jason, and her black eyes flashed. "That doesn't clear you of guilt, though. If you hadn't been fooling around, this wouldn't have happened." "How did you know? How did you make it in time?" I asked, still trembling. Rose smiled, and for the first time that morning, I saw her golden tooth, the one she called her lucky charm. "I told you, my Millie works at that salon. Yesterday that snake of yours, Valerie, Came in for a manicure and started bragging on the phone to her friend. Said she'd slipped something into her boss's coffee, whispered that his wife was cheating, that the babies weren't his. Said he'd go home to deal with it, and she'd comfort him afterward, right to the altar. Millie called me right away, and I ran here as fast as I could. Jason lifted his head, a flicker of realization in his eyes. Oh God, what have I done? Catherine, I almost, if not for Rose. If not for Rose, you would have murdered your pregnant wife, I said coldly, standing up. And don't pretend you're completely innocent. Yes, you were drugged. Yes, you were manipulated. But you slept with her by choice, didn't you? Rose shook her head. Men. What do women see in you that makes them willing to sell their souls for you? One gives herself to the devil for another woman's husband, another carries his children and keeps forgiving him. And you roosters just strut around showing off your feathers. Despite everything, a shaky laugh escaped me. Rose had that gift, she could make you laugh even when you wanted to cry. What do we do now? I asked, rubbing my belly. The babies were kicking, as if sharing my distress. Here's what, Rose said, brushing the dust off her bright skirt. Your dear husband is going to the police to file a report on that witch. Attempted murder by poisoning isn't a joke. I'll be a witness, and so will my niece. She's got everything recorded on her phone, every word that fool bragged about. The police? Jason went even paler, if that was possible. But they'll find out. The publicity. Oh, you think it'll stay quiet? Not a chance, Rose said, poking a finger into his chest. Either you go and tell them everything yourself, or I go, and I'll tell them not just about the poison, but how you came at your pregnant wife with a knife. Your choice. The choice was obvious. An hour later, the four of us, Jason, Rose, her niece Millie, a lively 25-year-old with mischievous eyes and purple hair, and I, were sitting at the police station. Detective Connor, a tired-looking man in his 40s with kind eyes, listened carefully, occasionally jotting things down. So, Miss Valerie Peterson added an unknown substance to your coffee with the intent to provoke you into committing a crime against your wife? He clarified. Yes, Jason muttered. And I'm willing to take any test, blood, toxicology, whatever it takes. That will be necessary, Connor nodded, then turned to Millie. You said you have a recording? Millie took out her phone and pressed play. Valerie's voice, smooth, smug, unmistakable, filled the room. Can you imagine, girl? I slipped something in his coffee and whispered a little spell, now he'll believe anything. Told him his wife's cheating with her trainer, that the kids aren't his. You should have seen his face, like a rabid dog. He's on his way home to sort things out. Tonight, I'll be comforting a widower, haha. Connor frowned. That's a serious accusation, attempted murder through coercion. We'll need to run tests, collect evidence, and search her workplace. Do you know where she might have kept the substance? Probably at the office, Jason said quietly. She has a personal locker in the break room. Good. We'll send a team. In the meantime, Connor looked at me. Mrs. Lewis, you'll also need a medical exam to document your condition and the baby's health. I'm sorry, but it's important for the case. The next few hours passed in a fog. Hospital, tests, an ultrasound where Dr. Ellen Gray, my doctor who'd been with me throughout the pregnancy, threw up her hands. Katie, your uterus is tense. What happened, sweetheart? I had to tell her, and she almost ran off herself to deal with Valerie. Get admitted for observation immediately. Twins aren't something to joke about, and after that kind of stress, certainly not. While they were admitting me to a ward, Connor called. Katie, you were right. In Peterson's locker we found a small vial with traces of some powder and a note with an incantation. Sent it for testing, and we detained her. She was at work, already making plans to take over your husband's office. Can you imagine? She'd even started moving her things in. I didn't know whether to cry or laugh. The room they put me in was small but cozy, set up for two, though the second bed was empty. Jason showed up an hour later with a huge bag of clothes, flowers, and a completely wrecked look on his face. May I come in? He asked from the doorway, sounding like a stranger. Leave the bag, then go, I answered, turning to the wall. Katie, please talk to me. What is there to talk about, Jason? About how you slept with your secretary for 3 months? Or about how you nearly killed me and our babies? Pick a topic. He sank into the chair by the bed. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I truly didn't know I thought it was just a fling, nothing serious. A fling? I turned to him and he flinched at my look. You have a pregnant wife, Jason. I've been dealing with morning sickness, back pain, swollen feet, and you decide to have a fling? Do you even understand how that sounds? I do. He lowered his head. I'm an idiot. A complete idiot. She's young, beautiful, she admired me. And you were always tired, nauseous, sleepy. Oh, poor you. I sat up on the bed, ignoring the dull ache low in my belly. A wife carrying twins is suffering. She has no energy for a husband. What a tragedy. And you sought comfort in the arms of a 23-year-old fool who almost turned you into a murderer. A nurse peeked in, the kind you worry is barely 20, with braids and freckles. Katie, you must not get upset. Your blood pressure is already high. Maybe we should ask the visitor to step out. Yes, Stacy. I read her badge. Please do. And don't let him come back. Jason stood up. Katie, I'll fix this. I swear I'll make it right. Go. I waved him away, and he left hunched over, as if he'd aged 10 years in a few hours. Stacy returned 5 minutes later with pills and a glass of water. Take these, they'll help lower the uterine tone. Try to sleep. My mom carried twins too, my younger brothers. She used to say the main thing is to think of good things. Babies feel everything. I took the pills and tried to follow her advice, think of good things. That soon I'd have 2 babies. That we were alive. That people had stepped in to help, the strange fortune teller Rose and her niece. Speaking of Rose, the next day she came to the hospital with a huge pot of chicken broth and a bag of homemade pastries. Hospital food is not food, she declared, setting her goodies on the bedside table. Eat, you need strength. You're feeding too, you know. Rose, I don't even know how to thank you. You saved our lives. Oh, honey, don't thank me, she waved it off. I just couldn't do otherwise. I see a lot that others don't. I saw you, good woman, kind. And your babies? They'll be special, mark my words. One will be an artist, the other a doctor. I see it. Do you really see the future? I asked, finishing my second pastry. Rose smiled slyly. Sometimes I see, sometimes I make it up. But about your children, that's true. As for your husband, you decide what to do. He's a fool, sure, but not evil, just weak. And weak men are caught by young predators like flies. What about Valerie? Will she go to jail? I asked. She should. Rose nodded. Millie said the test showed the powder had a stupefying herb and some psychotropic garbage. That charge is serious, you're talking 5 to 7 years, at least. The ward door opened and Millie peeked in. Aunt Rose, can I come in? Come on, what is it? Rose waved her over. Millie entered holding a tablet. Katie, I found something interesting. Remember you asked why Jason even got involved with Valerie? Yes. I nodded. She's pretty, sure, but pretty girls are a dime a dozen. She's not exactly bright. Exactly. Millie sat on the edge of the bed. I dug around on social media and found something. Valerie Peterson completed some NLP and hypnosis courses 3 years ago. From client reviews, she wasn't wasting her time. Several women wrote that after her sessions, their husbands became, I quote, like silk. You mean she hypnotized him? Something flipped inside me. It looks that way. Millie nodded. And that explains why he, a successful businessman with a beautiful wife, suddenly lost his mind over a secretary. She worked on him professionally. Rose snorted. That serpent. NLP, they call it. We call it witchcraft, but the point's the same, making a person act against his will. I leaned back on the pillow, digesting the news. On one hand, it offered some excuse for Jason, he'd been manipulated. On the other, it didn't absolve him entirely. You can only be hypnotized if you're at least a little open to it. And there's more. Millie continued. I found out this isn't her first time. 2 years ago she worked at another company and hooked up with a married boss there too. That one's wife hired a PI, found everything out, filed for divorce, and Valerie was fired. A serial homewrecker, Rose muttered. Back in the day we chased them out of town with a broom. Now they take courses and get diplomas. Stacy stuck her head in again. Katie, your husband is here. Shall I let him in? I wanted to say no, but Rose beat me to it. Let him. They need to talk. Jason came in, unshaven, rumpled, eyes red. He was holding a bag. Katie, I brought your favorite eclairs. From that bakery on Maple Street, you remember? I remember, I said softly. We used to buy sweets there when we first started dating. Jason had been a student then, broke, and eclairs were a celebration. Rose. Well, we'll be off. Millie, get ready. You two talk. She wagged a finger at Jason. If you hurt her again, I'll put a spell on you that you'll be biting your elbows for the rest of your life. Understood, Jason? I understand. He nodded, and I could tell he took Rose's threat seriously. When the fortune tellers left, he sat down in the chair and stayed silent for a long time. Then he spoke, staring at the floor. The detective said my blood tests showed traces of some psychotropic substances, and they interrogated Valerie. She confessed she'd been using NLP and hypnosis techniques on me, said she wanted to marry me, live the good life. And you, with your pregnancy, were in her way. And that justifies everything? I asked coldly. No. He lifted his eyes, and I saw tears in them. Nothing justifies it. Yeah, she manipulated me, but I'm the one who gave her the opportunity. I started flirting first. I stayed late when she asked me to help with that report. You betrayed me, I finished for him. Yes, betrayed. I betrayed the best woman in the world for what? For a young body? To feel like some kind of macho man? I can't even explain it. Katie, I'll understand if you can't forgive me. But please, give me a chance to make things right. For the kids, at least. For the kids? You almost killed them. I gave a bitter laugh. For the kids. I wasn't myself. But you sure were yourself when you slept with her. My voice rose, and I immediately grabbed my belly. It twinged sharply. Catherine. Jason jumped up. Should I call the doctor? No. I took deep breaths, the way they taught in prenatal class. Just, don't pressure me. I need time to think. He nodded and walked toward the door, then stopped at the threshold. You know what's the scariest part? When I was walking to the house with that knife, some part of me knew something was terribly wrong. But I couldn't stop. It was like someone else was moving my body. If it hadn't been for that fortune teller Katie, I'd never have forgiven myself. And I could never have forgiven you, I said quietly. Go, Jason. Come back tomorrow. And come every day. Maybe, someday. I didn't finish, but he understood. He nodded and left. When I was alone again, I stroked my belly. So, babies? Do we forgive your dumb dad, or do we raise you on our own? One of the twins kicked from the inside, and the others seemed to agree. Don't know either, huh? That's okay. We'll figure it out. That evening, Dr. Ellen Gray came in with my test results. The uterine tone is going down, that's good. But you'll have to stay in bed at least a week, maybe 2. And no stress. Stacy told me your husband was here, and you two had quite the talk. Ellen had been my doctor for 5 years. She'd become almost a friend. Ellen, do you think it's possible to forgive betrayal? She sat down on the edge of the bed. You know, Katie, I've been in medicine for 20 years, and I've seen everything. Some couples break up over a toothpaste cap, and others forgive worse than cheating. It depends. Do you still love him? And is he willing to change? Really change, not just say he will. And how do you know if it's real? Time will tell, she shrugged. But I'll say this, raising 2 little ones alone is tough. If there's a chance to keep the family together, maybe it's worth trying. Not right away, of course. Let him suffer a bit, think it over. That's good for men. The next few days passed in a blur of morning rounds, for drips, Jason bringing gifts and flowers, Rose showing up with homemade food and stories, and Millie dropping by with gossip from the salon. On the 3rd day, Detective Connor called. Catherine, I have some news. Peterson gave a full confession. Turns out she'd been planning this for months. She took the secretary job on purpose, studied your husband's habits and weaknesses, used professional manipulation techniques. We've got enough evidence to charge her with attempted murder and use of psychotropic substances. She's facing 5 to 8 years. And what about Jason? I asked. Your husband's listed as a victim, though, between us, a very foolish victim. But being foolish isn't a crime, otherwise we'd have to jail half the population, Connor said dryly. I couldn't help but smile. The man had a sense of humor. Thank you for everything, I said. Just doing my job. But I'm glad it ended the way it did. Take care of yourself and those babies, he replied. On the 5th day of my hospital stay, something unexpected happened. A woman walked into my room, beautiful, polished, about 35, dressed in an expensive suit. Catherine? Yes. I'm Veronica Peterson, Valerie's sister. I tensed. What do you want? She sat down without waiting for an invitation. I came to apologize. For my sister. And to tell you something that might be important. Go ahead, I said cautiously. Veronica sighed. Valerie's always been different, since childhood. She can't form normal relationships, only manipulate. Our parents died young, and I raised her myself, but clearly I failed somewhere. She's already destroyed 2 marriages. I tried talking to her, took her to therapists, nothing helped. She believes she has the right to take whatever she wants. And why are you telling me this? I asked. So you'll know, your husband wasn't the first, and I'm afraid he wouldn't be the last if she ever gets out. Valerie's sick, mentally ill. She has a dissocial personality disorder, no empathy, no guilt. I brought her medical records. They might help in court. Maybe they'll send her for treatment instead of just prison. She pulled a folder of documents from her bag. I flipped through them, psychiatric evaluations, medical histories, all real. Why are you helping me? I asked. Because you're a victim, Veronica said simply, and because you're about to be a mother. I have 2 kids myself, and I can imagine what you've been through. Valerie, I love my sister, but she's dangerous. Until she's isolated and treated, she'll keep ruining lives. Thank you, I said sincerely. I'll give these to the detective. Veronica stood up. And one more thing, your husband is guilty, yes, for cheating. But believe me, very few people can resist Valerie when she decides to go after them. She studies her target for months, finds their weak spots. It's like a professional burglar who studies the safe before cracking it. Forgive him, if you can. He won't fall for it again. After she left, I sat for a long time, thinking. So Jason had been a victim of a professional manipulator. But did that really absolve him? On the other hand, hadn't I ever made mistakes myself? I remembered back in college when I almost got scammed by a pyramid scheme, fell for fancy words and promises too. The difference was, that hadn't involved betrayal. That evening Jason showed up with my favorite sushi, which pregnant women technically aren't supposed to eat, but I'd been sneaking them all pregnancy anyway, and some news. Katie, I'm selling my share of the business to my partner. I want to start something new, something clean. No Valerie, no filth. And I made an appointment with a therapist. I need to understand why this happened. Why I let someone manipulate me like that. A therapist, that's good, I said, nodding, biting into a salmon roll. What's the new venture? Remember how we dreamed of opening a family restaurant? You're an amazing cook, and I'm decent at business. Maybe we could try? Once you've given birth, of course, when you're ready. A family restaurant. We really had dreamed about that 5 years ago, right after we got married. A small, cozy place with home-style cooking, me in the kitchen, Jason greeting guests. Then life happened, his business took off, I got pregnant, and the dream faded into the background. I don't know, Jason. Right now I can't think about anything but the babies. Let's have them first, then we'll see, I said honestly. Of course. I'm not rushing. I just want you to know, I'm ready to change everything. Whatever it takes. He nodded firmly. On the 7th day, I had an unexpected visitor, my mother, who lived in another city, and with whom I'd always had, to put it mildly, a complicated relationship. Katie. She burst into the hospital room like a storm. What's going on? Why do I have to hear from a neighbor that my daughter's in the hospital instead of from you? Hi, Mom, I sighed. With her it was always the same, accusations first, questions later. I didn't want to worry you. Didn't want to worry me. She threw up her hands. You've got a difficult pregnancy, your husband almost, well, Rose told me everything. Rose? You know her? I asked, surprised. Mom sat down, catching her breath. She was 60, but looked younger, always took care of herself. Of course I know her. She read my fortune 20 years ago, told me my daughter would be happy, but only after some trials. I didn't believe her then, you were only 5. But she was right, wasn't she? Mom, you actually believe in fortune-telling? I couldn't help but smile. My mother, a retired engineer, a die-hard rationalist, and now she believed in fortunes? I believe Rose, she said firmly. She's not your average fortune-teller. She sees things. And she didn't save you and Jason for nothing. It means it was meant to happen. Meant to happen that my husband slept with his secretary and almost killed me? I couldn't resist the sarcasm. Meant to happen so you two would wake up, Mom said seriously. You were stuck, both of you. He in his business, you in your pregnancy. You stopped seeing each other. Life had to shake you up. Yes, harshly. But otherwise, you would have just drifted apart without noticing. Her words stung, but there was some truth in them. Jason and I had grown distant over the past year. He was always working. I was lost in the world of prenatal books and baby clothes. We talked about diapers and cribs, not feelings or us. So what are you saying, Mom? Forgive and forget? Forget, no. She shook her head. You can't forget something like that. But forgive maybe. You know, I cheated on your father once. A long time ago, you were 3. Had an affair at work, lost my head. He found out, nearly left me. But he stayed. Said he was staying for you. And then, somehow, we fell in love all over again. We had 20 more years together before he passed. And those were the best 20 years of my life. I stared at her in shock. She had never told me that story. I'd always thought she and Dad had a perfect marriage. Don't look at me like that. People aren't perfect, honey. Everyone makes mistakes. The question is, are they willing to fix them? Is your Jason willing? He says he is. I shrugged. Then give him one chance. Just one. If he blows it again, kick him out. But for now you've got 2 babies coming. They need a father. A good father who learns from his mistakes. After she left, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything about her and Dad, about second chances. Maybe she was right. Maybe it was worth trying, not right away, but eventually. Let Jason prove he's changed. The next morning, Ellen Gray came in with good news. The uterine tone's back to normal. Your tests look great. You can go home. Just keep resting for at least another week, and no stress. Jason arrived to pick me up with a bundle of balloons, pink and blue. We don't even know who it'll be yet, he said sheepishly. A boy and a girl, I said. The ultrasound confirmed it. Really? His face lit up with such pure joy that I couldn't help smiling too. Katie, that's amazing. At home, he treated me like royalty, pillows, blankets, my favorite tea, fresh fruit. And I got rid of everything that reminded me of Valerie, he said. Turns out she'd been here a few times while you were out. I threw it all away, everything she touched. Bought new linens, new dishes. I want our home to be ours again. That evening Rose came by to check on me, bringing some kind of herbal brew. Drink up, it's good for the babies. And here, she pulled a small pouch from her bag. Charms for the twins. Hang them above their cribs when they're born. Rose, why are you helping us? We're strangers to you, I asked. She grew thoughtful. You know, sweetheart, I had a daughter once. She died in childbirth 10 years ago. My granddaughter too. The doctors didn't react in time, waited too long for the C-section. Since then, I help every pregnant woman I can. Maybe it's my Susie blessing me from the other side. My eyes stung with tears. I'm so sorry. No need, Rose waved it off. What's done is done. You've got a future ahead of you, a bright one, I see. Just forgive your husband. He's a fool, but he loves you. And your children need their father. Everyone keeps telling me that, I sighed. Then maybe they're right. Listen with your heart, not your head. The heart doesn't lie, she smiled. The next few days passed in a strange rhythm. Jason worked from home to stay close. He cooked, badly, but with effort. Read baby books aloud to me. Massaged my swollen feet. And not once did he cross any boundaries, slept in the guest room, didn't push, didn't try to force affection. On the 10th day of my home rest, Connor called. Catherine, the trial is set for next month. Peterson has partially confessed, but her lawyer is pleading insanity. The documents her sister brought came in very handy. Most likely, she'll be sent to a psychiatric facility for compulsory treatment. What does that mean for us? I asked. For you, it means she won't be a threat for at least a few years. And who knows, maybe she'll come to her senses. Though he hesitated, from my experience, people like her rarely change. But that's not your problem anymore. After the call, I sat in silence for a while. Valerie would disappear from our lives, but the scar would remain. Would I be able to forget? Would I ever trust Jason again? That evening, when Jason brought me dinner, pasta clumped together, but the chicken was actually edible, I decided it was time to talk. Jason, sit down. We need to talk. He sat across from me, tense as a wire. I'm listening. I've been thinking. About us. About our future. And here's what I've decided. I'm willing to give you a second chance. But with conditions. Any conditions, he breathed. First, we go to couples therapy. Both of us. We need to figure out what went wrong and how to make sure it never happens again. Second, complete transparency. Passwords to your phone, email, social media. Not forever, just until I can trust you again. Third, no secretaries under 40. Fourth, we really do open that family restaurant. Together. So we have something in common besides the kids. Jason nodded at every point. Agreed. To all of it. Katie, thank you. I know I don't deserve it, but thank you. And one last thing. I looked him straight in the eyes. If you ever betray me again, I'll leave. No discussions, no second chances. I'll take the kids and go. Understood? Understood. I won't. I swear, he said firmly. 2 weeks later, at 8 months pregnant, we went to our first therapy session. Teresa Wilson, a woman in her 50s with kind, perceptive eyes, listened to our story without judgment. Well, it's a tough case, she said, but not hopeless. Jason, do you understand that even under manipulation, the responsibility for cheating is still yours? I do, he nodded. And you, Catherine, are you willing to work on rebuilding trust? It's a long, painful process for both of you. I'm willing to try. For the kids, and for the good we once had, I answered honestly. The sessions were difficult. We uncovered a lot of painful truths, how we drifted apart, how we'd stopped really talking, how I'd withdrawn into my pregnancy while Jason buried himself in work, how he'd felt unwanted and I'd felt unattractive, how resentment had piled up between us. Valerie simply took advantage of your cracks, the therapist summed up during our 4th session. She found the fracture and widened it, but the fracture was already there. And if you don't seal it, another Valerie, or another man for Catherine, will come along. Meanwhile, the trial preparations continued. I gave testimony via video call, traveling that late in pregnancy was impossible. Jason went in person. Veronica, Valerie's sister, also testified against her, which must have been incredibly hard. The verdict came a week before my due date: compulsory psychiatric treatment in a closed facility for 3 years, followed by mandatory outpatient supervision. Valerie cried in court, screaming that she'd been framed, that she truly loved Jason. But the judge remained unmoved. Attempted murder of a pregnant woman through psychological manipulation and use of psychotropic substances. It's over, Jason said when he came back from court. Now we can live in peace. Start living again, I corrected, rubbing my huge belly. These two are already knocking on the door. Labor started suddenly, 3 days before my scheduled C-section. My water broke while I was making borscht. Jason, I shouted. He came running from his office, pale as a sheet. It's time? It's time. The drive to the hospital, the contractions, the operating room, it all blurred together into one long, painful, yet awe-filled experience. Dr. Ellen Gray commanded the team like a general. Stay calm, Catherine, everything's going as planned. You're about to meet your champions. The first to arrive was the boy, red, wrinkled, screaming, and absolutely perfect. A minute later came the girl, quiet, eyes wide open, as if marveling at the world. Congratulations, Mama. 2 pounds, 14 ounces for the boy, 2.5 for the girl. Healthy and beautiful, Ellen smiled. When they moved me to my room, Jason was already there, holding 2 tiny bundles, and crying. Katie, look at them. They're amazing. See, our son has your nose, and our daughter has my eyes. I looked at him, messy, teary, overjoyed, and felt something inside me melt, something that had frozen on that terrible April day. Maybe things really could be okay again. Rose showed up on the 3rd day with gifts, adorable hand-knit outfits. Made them myself, with love. So what are the little heroes' names? Ethan and Sophia, I said, feeding them both at once, a tricky skill I'd just mastered. Ethan, he'll be an artist, I told you. And Sophia? She picked up the girl, studied her face. Not a doctor. A scientist. A great one. She'll change the world. Do you really see that, or are you making it up? Jason smiled. What's the difference? The point is to believe in good things, and they'll come true, Rose winked. We were discharged 5 days later. The house looked transformed. Jason had set up a real nursery, 2 cribs, a changing table, mobiles, toys, all in soft pastel colors. What's that? I pointed to a new painting in the living room. Our family portrait, Jason said shyly. Commissioned it from an artist based on our photos. We're still expecting in it, but... I stepped closer. The painting showed us, happy, embracing, me with my pregnant belly, Jason's hand resting on it. There was something about it that felt right, as if the artist had captured not what was, but what was meant to be. The first weeks with the twins were pure chaos. They cried in turns, ate at the same time, and never slept. Mom helped as much as she could. Jason took time off and jumped right in, changing diapers, rocking them, singing lullabies in his terrible voice. You know, he said one night while we both rocked the screaming babies, I think this is my punishment. For everything. It's not punishment, I shook my head. It's life. Real life. Not that shiny, fake one you had with Valerie, this one. With diapers, cries, and sleepless nights. And I love this life, he said, kissing Ethan's tiny head. Every single second of it. A month later, Millie came by with gifts for the babies, and news. Guess what? I got into college. Studying psychology, part-time. I want to help people, like Aunt Rose, But you know, scientifically. That's amazing, I said, rocking Sophia in my arms. What about the salon? How are they managing without you? Oh, fine. Millie waved her hand. They hired someone new. By the way, all the clients keep asking about you. Your story spread all over town. You're kind of a local celebrity now, the woman who survived an attempted murder and forgave her husband. Forgave? I looked at Jason, who was changing Ethan's diaper at that very moment. I guess so. Almost forgave. Almost is already something, he smiled. I'll keep earning the rest. By the time the twins turned 3 months, life had started to settle down. They slept 4 hours in a row, a luxury. They smiled, cooed, gurgled. Jason had finally sold his share of the business and started looking for a space for the restaurant. I found the perfect place. He burst into the house one afternoon. Quiet street downtown, used to be a bakery. The wood-fired oven still there. Jason, I have 2 3-month-old babies, I sighed. What restaurant? Not right now, of course. He sat down beside me. But let's at least take a look. Mom can stay with the kids. The place really was charming, arched ceilings, big windows, that old brick oven. I could almost smell the bread, hear the laughter of guests. Do you like it? Jason asked. Very much. But it's a huge amount of work, I admitted. We'll handle it. Together, he said. Paperwork, renovation, equipment, it all took another 4 months. The babies started crawling, and Mom joked that working on the restaurant was easier than chasing after twins. Jason worked like a man possessed, painting walls, assembling furniture, negotiating with suppliers. Teresa Wilson, our therapist, noted the progress. You've become a real team, she said. That's a good sign. Shared goals are the best glue for a family. A week before opening, Rose showed up. So, she said, hands on her hips, ready to feed the big wide world? I'm scared, I admitted, rolling dough for a test batch of pies. What if it doesn't work? What if people don't like the food? They will, Rose said confidently. You cook with love. People always taste that. And you know what? I'll work as your waitress for a while. For free. Just for the soul. Rose, seriously? Jason asked, surprised. What? Why not? She spun around, her colorful skirt flaring like a bell. I've still got plenty of energy. I know people, I can talk. I'll draw in the customers, you'll see. Opening day, first Saturday in October. The kids stayed with Mom while we, along with our team, Vince the young but talented cook, and waitresses Rose and Stacy, yes, the same nurse from the hospital who decided to change careers, welcomed the first guests. The turnout was incredible. Word of mouth in our story, now local legend, had done their job. The first guests were Detective Connor and his wife. Couldn't miss this, he said. Besides, my wife's been dying to try your pies. I've told her all about them. By evening I could barely stand, but I was happy. Guests praised the food, the cozy atmosphere, Rose's stories, and her offer to read fortunes for happiness. Jason beamed as he greeted and thanked everyone. We did it, he said when the last guest left. We really did it. This is just the beginning, I smiled, untying my apron. But it's a good beginning. At home, Mom greeted us with mock irritation. Ethan cried all evening, Sophia bit me. Next time you're watching them yourselves. But her smile gave her away, she was proud of us. The restaurant took off. Not instantly, there were hiccups, mistakes, oversalted soups, and burnt pies, but slowly, we found our rhythm, our regulars. People loved the warm, home-like atmosphere. Rose worked with us for 2 months before she announced, well, I've taught you all you need to know. Time for me to go. Winter's coming, I'm heading south. She left us her recipes and a promise to return in spring. By the twins' first birthday, our life had found its balance. The restaurant was running smoothly, the kids were growing, and Jason and we were learning how to be together again. It wasn't perfect. Sometimes the memory of that April day would hit me, and I'd pull away. Sometimes Jason tried too hard, and that irritated me. But we managed. You know, said Teresa Wilson during one of our last sessions, you've been through something most couples wouldn't survive. But you did, and came out stronger. That's rare. We celebrated the twins' birthday at the restaurant, closed it to the public and invited only close friends and family. Mom was there, Rose, who came back just for it, Millie with her new boyfriend, Ellen Gray, even Connor with his family. Ethan smeared cake all over his face. Sophia tried to eat a candle. What are we toasting to? Jason asked, raising his glass. To second chances, Rose proposed. To family, said Mom. To happy endings, added Connor. To this being not an ending, but a beginning, I said, looking at my husband, my children, our friends. The beginning of a new life. That evening, after everyone had left, the kids were asleep, and Jason and I sat in the restaurant kitchen finishing the leftover cake. He looked at me. Did you really forgive me? I thought for a moment. Had I? Not completely. The scar was still there, and always would be. But I could live with it. I needed to live with it, as a reminder that everything precious is fragile and must be cared for every single day. I'm learning to forgive. Every day I'm learning. And you know what? It's worth it. Our kids, our restaurant, our new life, it's all worth the effort, I said honestly. He took my hand. Thank you. For the chance, for the kids, for everything. And you know, sometimes I think maybe all of this happened for a reason, to make us realize what really matters. Maybe, I nodded. Rose says everything in life happens for something, even the bad things. 2 years passed since that terrifying April day. The twins now ran around the restaurant, tangling themselves in the waiter's legs. Ethan truly showed an artist's streak. He'd drawn all over the walls of their playroom. Sophia dismantled and reassembled anything she could get her hands on, our little scientist, just as Rose had predicted. The restaurant was thriving. We were even thinking about opening a second location in the next neighborhood. Jason had completely devoted himself to the restaurant business and finally seemed at peace. No more secretaries, just family and work. Connor once told me that Valerie was still in treatment. Her sister Veronica occasionally sent updates, slow progress, but progress nonetheless. Maybe someday she'd be able to live a normal life. But that wasn't our story anymore. Our story was about second chances, forgiveness, and how even from the darkest moments, strength can grow. About how sometimes help comes from the most unexpected places, from a fortune teller who turned out to be a guardian angel. Mom, why is Aunt Rose always here? Sophia asked one day. She was 3 now, endlessly curious. Because she's our good fairy, I said, glancing at Rose, who was teaching Ethan how to draw horses. Fairies aren't real, Ethan declared. Oh, they are, Rose smiled. They just don't have wings. They wear colorful skirts instead. That evening, while tucking the kids into bed, I told them a bedtime story about a kind fortune teller who saved a princess from an evil sorceress. And did they live happily ever after? Sophia mumbled sleepily. They did. Not without problems, but happily, I nodded. Jason stood in the doorway, listening. When the kids finally drifted off, he wrapped his arms around me. Good story. It's not a story. It's our life, I said. Even better, then, he smiled. We went downstairs to the living room. The family portrait still hung on the wall, me pregnant, both of us smiling. Next to it were new photos, the twins' first birthday, the restaurant's grand opening, snapshots of laughter and ordinary joy. You know what I've been thinking? Jason said. Maybe we should have another one. Another baby. My eyes widened. Are you crazy? We already have 2 3-year-olds. But just imagine, a big family, a big table, so much laughter. And so many sleepless nights, I added. So many diapers. So much crying. So much love, he finished. I paused. Why not? Life had shown we could handle anything, as long as we did it together. Let's ask Rose what she sees. If she says she sees another baby, then we'll think about it, I said. Deal, Jason laughed. The next day, before we could even ask, Rose said, get ready. In a year, you'll have another little one. How do you know? I gasped. It's obvious. I can see it in your eyes. You've already decided. You just don't know it yet, she said with a sly smile. And, of course, she was right. A year later, Noah was born, a calm, smiling boy, the complete opposite of our lively twins. He's going to be a philosopher, Rose declared, holding him in her arms. Or a writer. Look how intently he studies the world. Life spun faster again, 3 kids now, a restaurant that demanded constant attention. But we managed. Mom had finally moved in with us and became indispensable. Taking care of grandkids is my calling, she'd say whenever I worried I was asking too much of her. Jason flourished as both a father and a restaurateur. Sometimes I'd watch him, playing with the kids, talking passionately about new dishes, and couldn't believe this was the same man who'd once walked toward me with a knife. What are you thinking about? He asked one evening as we sat on the porch with our tea, the kids asleep. About how strange life is, I said. If it weren't for what happened with Valerie, we might never have opened the restaurant. Maybe Noah wouldn't even exist. We'd still be living side by side, but apart. Do you regret it? He asked quietly. No, I shook my head. I just wonder, how can something so terrible lead to something so beautiful? Ethan turned 5 and started art classes. His teacher said he had remarkable talent. Sophia, also 5, was taking apart increasingly complex toys and putting them back together perfectly. And Noah, at 2, was already unusually thoughtful for his age. Your children are special, their preschool teacher said once. It's like they have old souls and little bodies. That's Rose's doing, Jason joked. She cast a spell on them. But you know what they say, every joke has some truth in it. Our restaurant became a local landmark. People came from nearby towns to try my pies and hear Rose's stories whenever she stopped by to read fortunes and chat. Our family story had become legend. Sometimes guests would ask us to tell the real version, but we never did. Some stories are meant to stay within the family. Yet, when couples on the brink of divorce came to our restaurant, I'd often sit with them for a while and say, you know, life happens. Sometimes it feels like everything's over, that forgiveness is impossible. But if there's even a spark of love left, it's worth trying. Give it a second chance. For yourselves, first of all. Some left deep in thought, some inspired, and some came back a year or 2 later, holding hands, with kids in tow, to thank us. On our 10th wedding anniversary, Jason gave me a ring, a new one, to replace the one I'd taken off that terrible April day and couldn't bring myself to wear again. It's a symbol of our new life, he said, the one we built from the ruins of the old. The ring was beautiful, white gold with a small diamond, surrounded by 3 tiny stones for our 3 children. I slipped it on, and it fit my finger as if it had always been there. You know, said Teresa Wilson when we came in for our follow-up session. I've been keeping up with your story, and I'm still amazed. You've turned tragedy into triumph. That's a rare gift. It's not a gift, I shook my head. It's work. Daily, sometimes difficult work, on yourself, on the relationship, on trust. But it's worth it. That evening, Rose came by, older now, but still as lively as ever. 10 years already, huh? I remember it like it was yesterday, standing at your door, yelling for Catherine to run. I was terrified you wouldn't believe me, wouldn't listen, she said. Thank you. For everything. If it hadn't been for you, Jason began. If it hadn't been for me, life would have found another way to shake you up, Rose waved her hand. I was just an instrument. The rest, you did yourselves. With your own hands, your own hearts. The kids came running home from school, messy, laughing, full of life. Grandma Rose, they shouted. They adored her, even though she wasn't really their grandmother. Tell us a story. And Rose told one, about kindness stronger than any evil, about love, about second chances that not everyone gets, but if you do, you must grab them with both hands. I looked around the room, my kids listening wide-eyed, my husband slicing apples for everyone, my mom knitting yet another sweater for the grandkids, Rose spinning her endless tales, and I thought, we did it. Out of nightmare, fear, and betrayal, this life had grown, imperfect, but real, full, happy. Mom, why does good always win in fairy tales? Noah, our most thoughtful one, asked. Because that's how it's supposed to be, I answered. And in real life? He pressed. In real life too, Rose said. Only sometimes you have to wait, and give good a little help. That night, as I fell asleep, I thought about how strange it all was. Valerie had wanted to destroy my life, to steal my husband. Instead, she'd unintentionally helped us build a life far better than the one we had before. Jason and I had become closer, stronger. We'd built something together. Noah was born, a child who wouldn't have existed if things had stayed the same. You awake? Jason asked softly. Thinking, I replied. About what? About how sometimes evil, without meaning to, serves good. Sounds like philosophy, he smiled in the dark. Sounds like life, I corrected him. The next morning, Connor called. We'd stayed in touch all these years. Catherine, I've got news. Peterson's being released. Her treatment's over. The board ruled she's stable and no longer a danger to society. What happens now? I asked, feeling my chest tighten. She's under a restraining order, can't come near you or your family. She's moving to another city, already has a job lined up. Don't worry, they'll keep an eye on her. I told Jason. He frowned. You think she? I don't think so, I said, shaking my head. It's been 10 years. We've all changed. Maybe she has too. A week later, a letter arrived, no return address, but I recognized the handwriting. Catherine, I know I have no right to write to you, but I must. I've been through long treatment and learned a lot. I understand the harm I caused. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just want you to know I'll never hurt anyone again. I've learned to live differently. I wish you happiness. You're a strong woman. Stronger than me. V. I stared at the letter for a long time, then burned it in the fireplace. The past should stay in the past. What's burning? Sophia asked, always curious. Old papers. No point keeping what's no longer needed, I said. Life went on. The kids grew. The restaurant thrived. We opened a second one, smaller, focused on children's parties. Ethan won his first art contest. Sophia built a working model of a windmill. Noah, at 4, read his first book cover to cover. You've built an empire, joked Ellen Gray, a regular at our restaurant. A culinary empire, I smiled. We built a family. The rest is just details, I corrected her. Rose came by less often, age was catching up, but whenever she did, the kids dropped everything and ran to her. She taught Ethan to see colors others couldn't. She explained to Sophia how the world worked, in her own way, but it was still science, Rose laughed. And Noah just sat quietly beside her, listening, absorbing everything. He'll write it all down one day, Rose said once. All our stories. People will read them and wonder, could such things really happen? Can they? Noah asked. Oh yes, little one, she smiled. Life is richer than any fantasy. 15 years had passed since that April day. 15 years of a new life. Ethan had enrolled in an art academy at 15, a prodigy. Sophia earned a scholarship to a specialized math and science school. Noah, at 12, wrote his first story about a kind fortune teller and a saved family. Is it about us? I asked after reading it. It's about everyone, he said seriously. About how there's always a choice, and how help can come from where you least expect it. Jason's hair had turned gray. Mine too. But we were still together, still a team. Sometimes, rarely, the memories came back, but they didn't hurt anymore. They were reminders of the road we'd traveled. You know, we always remember her, Jason said on the anniversary of that day. I'm grateful. For what? I asked, surprised. For the lesson. For the chance life gave me to make things right. Not everyone gets one. Rose passed away quietly in her sleep at 80. The whole town came to her funeral. It turned out she'd helped hundreds of people. We stood by her grave, Jason, our grown children, and I, and we wept. Not from grief, but from gratitude. She said she was just an instrument, Noah whispered. But what an instrument, magical. People are the real magic, Sophia said softly. Their ability to help, to save, to love. I'll paint her portrait, Ethan promised. A big one. For the restaurant. So everyone remembers. The portrait now hangs in a place of honor. In it, Rose looks young, the way I saw her that very first day, with bright eyes, wind-blown hair, and a colorful skirt. Underneath, the inscription reads, Rose, the one who saved. People often ask about the portrait, and now we tell the story, because we can, because it no longer hurts. We tell them about that terrible day, about the rescue, about the second chance. Some don't believe it, too unbelievable, they say, but most just nod with quiet understanding. Everyone, at some point in life, has had their own Rose, their own guardian angel. Yesterday, a young couple came in, he with red, swollen eyes, she resolute but clearly on the edge. We heard your story, the woman said. That forgiveness is possible, that you can start over. Is that really true? I sat them at a table, brought them tea and fresh pies. Tell me, I said. Their story was both ordinary and heartbreaking, betrayal, lies, pain. No attempted murder, but the wound was the same. I don't know if I can forgive, the woman sobbed. He says it was a mistake, that he loves me, but how do you believe that again? Do you still love him? I asked. She hesitated. Maybe. Otherwise it wouldn't hurt so much. Then try, I said gently. Not right away, not tomorrow. Give yourself time. See a therapist, together and separately. Find something to do as a team. And most importantly, talk. About everything. The pain, the fear, the hope. And if it doesn't work? The man asked. Then at least you'll know you tried, Jason said, walking up. But if it does, and there's always a chance, you'll come out stronger. Like tempered steel. They left thoughtful, holding hands, hesitant, uncertain, but still holding on. Do you think they'll make it? Jason asked. If they really want to, they will, I said. We did. Evening. The kids were all away, Ethan at an art camp in the mountains, Sophia at a science competition, Noah at a writing retreat. Jason and I were alone in the restaurant after closing. Remember when you asked if I'd forgiven you? He said suddenly. I remember. What did you say? That I was learning to forgive. And now? I looked at him, the wrinkles near his eyes, the silver in his hair, the hands that once held a knife and later held our children, built our restaurant, built our future. Now I'm grateful, I said honestly. For what? He asked, surprised. For the fall. For what we went through. For surviving and becoming who we are. If that day hadn't happened, we would have lived an ordinary life. But instead, we lived a miracle. A small one, a family one, but still a miracle. He pulled me close. I love you. More than I did 15 years ago. Because now I know what that love costs. And I love you, I whispered into his shoulder. Outside, the rain was falling, soft, spring rain. The same April rain that fell the day it all began. But now it didn't frighten me. It reminded me that after every storm, the sun returns. Let's go home, Jason said. Tomorrow's a new day. Let's go, I smiled. We've still got so many days ahead of us. We turned off the lights, locked the door, and walked through the rain without an umbrella, just walked, hand in hand. Two people who had lived through betrayal and forgiveness, through pain and healing, through the end of one life and the beginning of another. Somewhere above, I knew Rose was smiling. Her mission complete, family saved, children grown, love victorious. Like in a fairy tale? No. In fairy tales, it's simpler. Real life is harder, messier, but infinitely more beautiful. Because it's ours. Imperfect, full of mistakes and second chances, of failures and triumphs, but ours. And we'll live it to the end, together. The end? No. The story goes on. It always goes on, as long as we live, as long as we love, as long as we're willing to forgive and begin again. The fortune teller no longer knocks at the door. She did her part, saved us that April day. And from then on, we managed on our own, with love, with faith, with hope, and with endless gratitude for our second chance. For life itself. But life, as always, doesn't stop at pretty words. It keeps testing, surprising, teaching. 2 months after that rainy April night when Jason and I walked home under the rain, a new shock came. Veronica called, Valerie's sister. Catherine, I'm sorry to bother you, but I have to warn you. Valerie's disappeared. She ran away from the city where she worked. The police are looking for her, but so far, nothing. My blood ran cold. You think she? I don't know, Veronica admitted. But please be careful. After treatment she seemed stable, but who knows what's going on in her head. Jason wanted to hire security. No, I said firmly. We're not going to live in fear. If she wants revenge, no guard will stop her. And if she's just trying to start over, why turn our home into a fortress? Still, we took precautions, installed cameras, alarms, told the kids to stay alert. Ethan took it philosophically. If she comes, I'll paint her. They say if you draw your fear, it disappears. Sophia approached it practically. I'll build a motion sensor alarm. And I'll keep pepper spray with me at all times. And Noah, as always, thought deeply. I wonder what she feels now. Hate? Regret? Or just emptiness? A week passed, then another, nothing. Life slowly returned to normal. The restaurant thrived, the kids studied, Jason and I planned a summer vacation, the first in years, just us, leaving the business in good hands. And then she came. Not at night, not sneaking around, but in broad daylight, on a Saturday, when the restaurant was full. She sat at a corner table, ordered tea and a slice of pie. Stacy, who served her, recognized her instantly and rushed into the kitchen. Catherine, it's her. I peered through the serving window. It really was Valerie. But what a change, aged 20 years, thin to the point of fragility, her eyes dull and lifeless. There was nothing left of the predatory beauty she once was. Should we call the police? Jason asked when he saw her too. Wait, let's see what she wants, I said, stopping him. I took off my apron and walked into the dining area. I sat down across from her. The customers kept eating and chatting, unaware of the quiet storm unfolding at the corner table. Hello, Valerie, I said calmly. She lifted her eyes, empty, burned out. Hello. Thank you for not calling the police right away. What do you want? I asked directly. To say goodbye. I'm leaving. Far away. For good. But before that, I wanted to see what I built. Unintentionally, but built nonetheless. What do you mean? Your life. She gestured around the room. This restaurant. Your strong family. If it weren't for me, for my madness, you and Jason would have quietly divorced in a couple of years. He'd have left for another secretary, you'd have been left alone with the kids and your resentment. But instead look. You're together, strong, successful. I became the catalyst for your happiness. You wanted to destroy us, I reminded her. Yes, I did. But life laughed at me. From my evil grew your good. Funny, isn't it? She said with a tired nod. What happened to you? I couldn't help asking. The woman in front of me was broken, and despite everything, I felt something close to pity. Treatment, she gave a bitter smile. You know what's the worst part? When they treat you for psychopathy, you start to feel all the things you never felt before: guilt, shame, other people's pain. Imagine being blind your whole life and then suddenly seeing and realizing the horrors you've done. It's hell. I stayed silent. What could I possibly say? I'm not asking for forgiveness, Valerie continued. I don't deserve it. I just wanted to say, I'm glad you're doing well. And also thank you. For what? I asked, surprised. For not taking revenge. You could have. You had every right. But you didn't. That gave me a chance to change. I don't know if I'll ever succeed completely, but I'm trying. She stood, left money on the table for her tea and pie. By the way, the pie is wonderful. Goodbye, Catherine. Be happy. And she left. Just stood up and walked out, leaving me frozen in place. Jason came over. What did she want? To say goodbye. And to thank us, I said quietly. That evening, we told the kids about Valerie's visit. They each reacted differently. Ethan said he'd paint the scene, a farewell to the past. Sophia remarked that, psychologically, it made sense, a person seeks closure of the gestalt. And Noah said thoughtfully, she's miserable. Can you imagine what it's like, to suddenly see and realize you've been a monster? She chose her path, Jason said firmly. We all choose, Noah replied. But not everyone gets the chance to fix what they've done. That conversation stayed with me. We all make choices, and each choice leads us either toward light or into darkness. Valerie had chosen darkness for so long that when she finally saw the light, it blinded and burned her. We chose forgiveness and found new life. But what if we had chosen revenge? What are you thinking about? My mom asked when she came over that weekend to see the grandkids. About choices. How one decision can change everything, I said. Remember how I told you about cheating on your father? Mom said suddenly. I didn't tell you everything. The man I had the affair with, he asked me to leave your father. Promised me everything, wealth, a new life, happiness. And I almost agreed. I even packed my bags and bought tickets. But then you got sick, you remember, pneumonia when you were 3? I faintly remembered, hospital rooms, 4 drips, fear. I sat by your bed and realized, if I leave, I'll lose you. Not physically, but here, she pointed to her heart. You'd grow up without me, with a stepmother maybe. So I stayed. I tore up the tickets, unpacked my things, and confessed everything to your dad. He forgave me, and the next 20 years were the best of my life. What about that man? I asked. I saw him about 10 years later. He'd been divorced 3 times, drank too much, looked 20 years older. That's how it goes, sweetheart. One decision, staying by your hospital bed, changed everything. Did you ever regret it? Never, she said firmly, because I chose love. Real love, not passion. The next day brought unexpected news. Rose had left us an inheritance. Not money, she'd lived modestly, but a chest full of her things and a letter. Dear ones, Jason read aloud. If you're reading this, it means I'm already where we all meet after death, by the big fire in the sky. Don't grieve. I lived a good life and managed the most important thing, to save you. In the chest are my treasures. Not gold or diamonds, but something far more valuable. You'll understand when you see. Live long, love deeply, and remember, everything happens for the best. Yours, Rose. The chest held wonders. Old photographs, Rose young, with her husband and daughter. Notebooks filled with recipes, not only culinary, but herbal remedies, healing incantations. A worn deck of tarot cards. And dozens of letters from people she had helped, thank yous, family photos, children's drawings. Look, Sophia said, pulling out an envelope with our name on it. Inside was a photo, our family, standing in front of the restaurant on opening day. How did Rose have that? There was also a note in her handwriting. I saw this 5 years before it happened. The image came to me in a dream. That's why I came to save you. I couldn't do otherwise, fate told me to. She really could see the future? Ethan asked. Or she really wanted us to believe she could, Sophia said thoughtfully. What's the difference? Noah said quietly. She believed, and acted on that belief. And she saved us. Among the things was another notebook, Rose's diary. The last entry was dated the day before her death. I feel I'll be leaving soon. I'm not afraid. I did what I had to. Catherine and Jason are happy. The kids are wonderful. My Susie is smiling at me from above, and my mother says, "Well done, you saved them when you couldn't save me." And I tell her, "My dear, it was you who saved them, through me. Your death gave me a purpose, to help others." The circle is complete. I can go in peace. We all cried as we read it. Even Jason, who rarely showed emotion. "She was an angel, a real angel in a colorful skirt," he said through tears. We decided to create a little memorial corner for Rose in the restaurant, with her portrait, photos, and some of the things from her chest. People would come, look, ask questions, and we would tell them about the fortune teller who saved families, healed souls, saw the future, or pretended to, but somehow was always right. A month after Valerie's visit, we got a message from Veronica. Valerie's been found, in Switzerland, at a psychiatric clinic. She checked herself in. She said she couldn't live with what she'd done. The doctors say it's a severe case. When a psychopath suddenly develops a conscience, the mind can't always handle it, Veronica told us. "Do you feel sorry for her?" Jason asked. "I don't know," I said honestly. She wanted to do evil, and she got what she deserved. But this kind of punishment feels almost too cruel, even for her. Life, meanwhile, went on. The restaurant thrived, and we opened a third one, this time in the next town. Ethan was preparing for his first solo exhibition, even though he was only 16. Sophia invented a water purification device and received a patent. Noah won a national young writers competition with his story The Fortune Teller at the Door. "That's about us." Jason protested after reading it. "It's a work of fiction. Any resemblance to real people is purely coincidental," Noah replied calmly, but he winked. At Ethan's exhibition, the centerpiece was a portrait of Rose, not the one that hung in the restaurant, but a new one. She was painted as she had been that day, her hair flying, eyes blazing, hand raised as she knocked on our door. The painting was titled The Saving Angel. "How did you know what she looked like at that moment?" "You weren't there," I asked. "I saw her. In a dream," Ethan said mysteriously. "She told me, paint me young, strong, saving lives, so people will remember." Mysticism? Coincidence? I don't know. But the painting sold on the first day for a price that left Jason and me speechless. The buyer, an elderly man, said, "That woman saved my family 30 years ago. She warned us about a fire. I searched for her for years to thank her, but she was gone. And now, seeing her portrait, I understand, she never needed thanks. She was just doing what she was meant to do." Ethan's story, and his painting, made it into the newspapers. Reporters dug up stories from others whom Rose had helped. There were dozens. People she had warned about danger, helped find missing children, or talked out of taking their own lives. And she did it all quietly, without recognition, often without even giving her name. She was a saint, one woman said in an interview. Saint Rose. The nickname stuck. At the restaurant, people often said, "This is the place where Saint Rose worked." Jason grumbled that it was an exaggeration, but I could see he was proud. Proud that he'd known her, proud that she had saved us. For Ethan's 18th birthday, the whole family gathered, along with friends. To our surprise, Milka showed up, now a licensed psychologist, Dr. Mila Johnson, though to us she was still the same Milka, minus the purple hair, now a soft chestnut. "You know, it was your story that made me study psychology," she admitted. "I saw how one event can destroy or save a family. I wanted to help people too, like Aunt Rose, only with a degree." "And? Do you help?" Sophia asked. "I try, but I'm nowhere near Aunt Rose. She had a gift. I just have knowledge," Milka smiled. "Knowledge is a gift too, just a different kind," Noah said. That evening, after everyone had left, we sat on the porch, the whole family. Ethan was sketching the sunset, Sophia scribbling designs in her notebook, Noah typing another story on his laptop. An ordinary family evening. "Everything could have been different," Jason said suddenly, "if Rose hadn't come." "Don't think about that. She did come, that's what matters," I said. "Mom, do you believe in fate?" Sophia asked. "I believe in people, in their ability to choose," I said. "Rose chose to save us. We chose to forgive and move on. Valerie chose evil, then tried for redemption. Every choice changes a destiny." Deep, Ethan chuckled. "I'd rather just keep painting. And I'll keep inventing," Sophia added. "And I'll keep writing," Noah said. "And your father and I will keep loving and supporting you," I smiled. That night I had a dream. Rose sat by a campfire, young, beautiful, happy. Beside her was a girl who looked just like her. My Susie, Rose said. Meet her. Thank you for saving them, Susie said softly. Mom told me it was her purpose. My death helped her save others. That's not fair. You shouldn't have had to die, I said. Fairness is a human word, Susie smiled. Where we are now, things look different. My death gave my mother purpose. Her life saved dozens of families. Your story will inspire hundreds more. It's a chain of kindness, don't you see? I woke with an overwhelming sense of peace. I told Jason about the dream. He hugged me. Maybe it's true. Maybe Rose really does visit us. Or maybe it's my subconscious processing everything, I said. What's the difference? He shrugged. As long as it feels right. A week later, Veronica called. Valerie's gone. Peacefully, in her sleep. The doctors said her heart gave out, but I think she just couldn't live with her newfound conscience. Jason and I exchanged a long look. What could we say? The woman who'd almost destroyed our lives was gone. And instead of relief, I felt sadness for a wasted life, for a choice of darkness, for remorse that came too late. Should we send flowers to the funeral? Jason asked. Yes, I said. White roses. From the family she accidentally saved. Veronica called again after the funeral. Thank you for the flowers. And for the card, from the family you accidentally saved. Valerie would have appreciated the irony. You know, in her last days, she talked about you often. She said you were the only good thing she'd ever done in her life, even if it was against her will. Valerie's story made us think. Evil that turned into good. A plan for destruction that became the foundation of creation. Life works in strange ways. I'll write a book about it, Noah said. About evil that gave birth to good. Just change the names, I asked. Of course, Mom. It'll be fiction. Though honestly, can anyone invent something more unbelievable than life itself? We decided to expand the restaurant, to add a small hotel for those traveling from afar to taste Catherine's cooking and hear the stories of St. Rose. Yes, we had become a local landmark. A tourist attraction on the map? Isn't that a bit much? We're not a circus, Jason doubted. We're a place of strength, Ethan said unexpectedly, serious. A place where a miracle of salvation happened. People are drawn to places like that. Construction took a year. The hotel turned out small, just 10 rooms, but cozy and warm. Each room was named after someone who had been part of our story. The Rose Room, the largest and most beautiful. The Mila Room, with violet accents in the interior. Even a Valerie Room, simple, minimalist, but with a huge window symbolizing the chance for enlightenment. Are you serious? A room in honor of the woman who almost killed us? Jason asked in disbelief. In honor of the lesson we learned, I corrected him. Everyone in our story played a role, even her. The hotel's grand opening coincided with Sophia's 20th birthday. She had just finished university, received several patents, and was invited for an internship in Switzerland. A coincidence, she said when she learned she'd be working at the same clinic where Valerie had died, though in the research department. Not a coincidence, Noah said. It's a circle closing. You'll go there bringing creation to a place once marked by destruction. Symbolic. People came from all over the country for the opening, those Rose had helped, those who had heard our story and been inspired by it. One couple told us that after reading our story in the newspaper, they decided to give each other a second chance after an affair. It's been 5 years now. We have a son, and we're happy. Thank you for not being afraid to tell the truth, the woman said, glowing. Another woman confessed that Rose's story had helped her out of depression. I realized that even after death, one can still do good. My daughter died of cancer, and I thought life was over. Then I read about Rose, who, after losing her own daughter, began saving others. And I opened a foundation for children with cancer, in honor of my Annie. By evening, I could no longer hold back tears. So many stories, so many lives intertwined with ours. See? Jason said, hugging me. Rose was right. Everything that happens, even the worst things, happens for the best. Noah read one of his new stories aloud, not about us directly, but everyone knew where it came from. It was about a woman who could see the future but couldn't change the past. About her pain and her gift. The whole room cried. You're definitely going to be a writer, Sophia said. Not a psychologist like Milka. Writing is psychology, Noah replied. Only through stories. That night, after everyone had gone, we stayed in the Rose Room, decided to spend the first night there, as a blessing. The room was beautiful, warm colors, soft light, photographs, and in the center, Ethan's portrait of Rose. The original. The buyer had gifted it back to us for the opening. Do you think she sees us? I asked. I'm sure she does, Jason said. And she's proud. We're her continuation. Her goodness, living on. At 3 a.m, I woke to a strange sound. Someone was singing. Softly, but clearly, a gypsy song. The wind, maybe, Jason murmured half asleep. But I knew it wasn't the wind. Rose had come to bless the new beginning. In the morning, Kate, our 20-year-old housekeeper, said, "You won't believe it, I had the strangest dream." A fortune teller in a colorful skirt was walking through the hallways, peeking into each room, whispering, "Be happy." It felt so real, like she was right there. Jason and I exchanged glances. "That wasn't a dream," I said quietly. "That was Rose. She came to bless this place." The hotel began to thrive. People came not just for food and stories, but for something deeper, for the feeling. They said their souls healed here, their questions found answers, miracles happened. A woman who'd been childless for 10 years became pregnant after staying with us for a week. A divorced couple reconciled. A man who'd come with thoughts of suicide left with plans for a new life. So what are we now, a sacred site? Jason joked. No, I said. A place of love. Love stronger than pain, betrayal, or fear. And people can feel it. Sophia left for Switzerland but called every week. "Mom, I found something in the clinic archives." Valerie kept a diary before she died. "The doctor let me read it for research. There's a part about you. Want me to send it?" "Send it," I said, bracing myself. Valerie's diary was harrowing, the agony of a woman suddenly burdened with conscience, unable to live with it. But the last entry was about hope. Maybe my death will redeem something. Maybe Catherine and Jason will stay happy for a long time. Maybe their children will grow up and make the world better. Then my evil will turn to good. Then my life won't have been in vain. Forgive me, Catherine, if you can. And live. Live for both of us, for the woman I could have been if I'd made a different choice. I cried as I read it. Jason held me close. "She redeemed herself," he said softly. "No," I shook my head. "Some things can't be redeemed, but they can be released. In peace." That night, I wrote a letter to Valerie, a letter she would never read. "Valerie, I don't know if there's anything beyond death, but if there is, and you can somehow hear this, I'm letting you go. I'm letting go of my anger, my pain, my fear. You played your part in our story, dark, terrible, but necessary. Without you, we wouldn't have the life we have now. Rest in peace. And if there's a next life, choose differently. Choose love, not destruction. Catherine." I burned the letter in the fireplace. The ashes scattered with the wind, and I felt an incredible lightness. The last weight was gone. "All done now?" Jason asked softly. "Yes," I said. "Now we can just live." I nodded. But of course, life is never simple. Ethan fell in love with a violinist who played in our restaurant in the evenings. Lisa, 20 years old, talented, beautiful, and completely out of this world. "Mom, I'm getting married," he announced at 21. "Are you sure?" I asked carefully. "As sure as I've ever been. She's my muse, my inspiration, my life." The wedding was held at the restaurant, small, family only, but unbelievably beautiful. Lisa wore a dress sewn by my mother. Yes, even at 80, she still sewed. Ethan painted a portrait of his bride in her wedding dress as a gift. Sophia came from Switzerland with big news. She'd been invited to work at a UN research center. "I'm going to save the world." Scientifically, she laughed. Noah published his first book, a collection of short stories titled The Fortune Teller and Other Stories. It was an instant success. Critics called him a new literary voice, praised the depth of the 20-year-old author. "It's in the genes," Jason said proudly. "Or upbringing," I argued. "Or maybe Rose cast a spell," Ethan joked. So many people came to Noah's book launch that they had to hold it in the city's cultural center. He read excerpts, answered questions. One journalist asked, "Your stories feel very real. Are they based on true events?" "All literature is based on reality," Noah replied diplomatically. "A writer just takes fragments of life and arranges them into a new pattern, like a mosaic." After the presentation, a woman in her 40s approached me. "You're Catherine, right? The one from the story?" "I'm just Catherine, the restaurant owner," I smiled. "No, you're the woman who managed to forgive and rebuild happiness from ruins." I came for advice. "My husband, he cheated with my best friend. I want to leave, but we have 3 kids. What should I do?" We sat down at a small table in the lobby. I listened to her, a story as ordinary and as unique as all stories of betrayal. I can't tell you what to do. Every situation is different, but I can share what I've learned myself. Forgiveness isn't about him, it's about you. To forgive means to free yourself from the weight of resentment. After that, decide for yourself, is he willing to change? Are you willing to give a chance? Do you have enough strength to rebuild trust? If yes, try. If not, leave with a clean heart, without bitterness. She was crying. But how? How do you forgive something like that? Time. Time and inner work. And help. Don't be afraid to ask for it. From therapists, from loved ones, from God if you believe. Or from the memory of Rose, she helped everyone. The woman left deep in thought. A year later, she sent a letter. She and her husband had gone through therapy, saved their marriage, and had a fourth child. Thank you for the advice. And for the hope. Jason read the letter and shook his head. We've become relationship gurus. We've become an example, I corrected him. An example that you can survive anything and still stay together. For our 25th wedding anniversary, the kids organized a surprise. They invited everyone who'd been part of our story. Even Milka came from Europe, where she was completing her PhD. Stacy came with her husband and 3 kids. Connor, now a retired colonel. Ellen Gray, already close to 80 but looking 60. 25 years ago, I delivered the babies of a woman whose husband had tried to kill her just months before. I thought, poor girl, what future awaits her? And look now, a strong family, a thriving business, wonderful children. Isn't that a miracle? She said in her toast. Miracle, that's Rose. If not for her, I'd have been investigating a murder, not an attempted one. God bless her soul, said Connor. Everyone raised their glasses to Rose. And at that exact moment, a butterfly flew into the hall, huge, bright, appearing from nowhere in October. It landed on Rose's portrait and stayed still. It's a sign, someone whispered. And everyone believed. The butterfly sat there all evening, while we reminisced, laughed, and cried, and only flew away after the last guest had left. Ethan managed to capture it, a quick sketch, but astonishingly vivid. I'll hang it next to Rose's portrait. It'll be Rose and her soul, he said. A month after the anniversary, something unexpected happened. A distant relative of Rose arrived, her cousin, Esmeralda. A true gypsy like Rose, bright, spirited, sharp-eyed. Rose told me to come. She came to me in a dream and said, "Go to my children, they need help," Esmeralda announced right at the door. What help? We're fine, Jason said, puzzled. You only think so. Trouble's already at your doorstep, you just don't see it yet, Esmeralda said mysteriously. We exchanged glances. What trouble? But Esmeralda wouldn't explain. She walked around the restaurant, whispering prayers, crossing herself. Then she stopped near our new employee, Michael, the cook we'd hired a month ago. Him. Trouble will come from him, she said. Michael? He's a great cook. Quiet, polite, I said, surprised. Still waters run deep, she replied sharply. Tomorrow night he'll come back here with his friends. They plan to rob you. He knows the weekend cash stays in the register. How do you know that? Jason asked. I see. Just like Rose saw. It's in our family, she said simply. And check his papers. He's not who he says he is. Jason called a police friend. An hour later, we got a call back, Michael Stevens, whose documents we'd verified when hiring, didn't exist. The passport was fake. Fingerprints from a kitchen knife matched Victor Kramer, a repeat offender specializing in restaurant robberies. He gets hired as a cook, studies the routines, when there's the most cash, where the cameras are, what kind of alarm system you have. You're lucky we caught it in time. His accomplices are already in town, renting a place nearby, the detective explained. Yes, the same Connor, who'd come out of retirement because he found retirement too boring. The operation went smoothly. Michael, Victor came to work as usual and was arrested right there in the kitchen. His 3 accomplices were caught in their rented apartment with a plan of the restaurant and break-in tools. How did you know? My record was clean, he asked during the arrest. The fortune teller told us, Connor smirked. And it was nothing but the truth. Esmeralda stayed with us for a week. She taught Sophia how to read tarot cards. The girl has a gift, just sleeping for now. She talked colors with Ethan. You see people's auras, don't you? That's rare. And with Noah, she shared ancient legends, which he eagerly wrote down. You're just like Rose. You save people, I told her before she left. We all save each other, Esmeralda said wisely. Rose saved you, and now you save others with your story. The circle continues. I just remind people that evil never sleeps. But good is stronger, as long as it stays awake. After she left, Sophia confessed, "Mom, she's right. Sometimes I see something around people, like a colored mist. Bright around kind people, dark around bad ones. That Michael guy had black with red sparks. I wanted to tell you, but I thought it would sound crazy." "Always tell me," I said. "We already know miracles happen, and gifts exist." Rose proved that. It turned out all three of our kids had something special. Ethan really did see auras, that's why his portraits looked so alive. Sophia had a sense for danger, maybe that's why her inventions always dealt with safety. And Noah? Noah heard stories. I just look at someone and know their story. Not the details, the essence. Their pain, their joy, their fear, their hope. And then I write about it, he admitted. Rose cast a spell, Jason chuckled. Told us they'd be special. Or maybe it's genetics, I said thoughtfully. Maybe we all have gifts, we just don't develop them. Or both, Ethan said, settling the debate. Life soon proved their gifts were real. Ethan became a famous portrait artist. Critics called his work the X-ray of the soul. Sophia invented an early earthquake warning system that saved thousands of lives. Noah became a world-renowned author, his books translated into dozens of languages. But that all came later. For now, they were just our kids, growing up, falling in love, making mistakes, finding themselves. Sophia returned from Switzerland with a fiancé, Mark, a theoretical physicist. Serious, bespectacled, but when he smiled, his whole face lit up. "Mom, Dad, we're getting married, and we'll live in Switzerland. But we'll come here every summer, I promise," she said. "That's far," I sighed. "But happy," I said, hugging her. "And that's what matters." The wedding was international. Mark's relatives came, our friends, even members of Rose's extended family. The celebration lasted 3 days, the first American style, the second Swiss, the third gypsy style. Esmeralda, who came especially for it, read fortunes for everyone and predicted that Sophia and Mark would have 3 children, all scientists, apples of the same tree. Noah married last, at 25, to Yuki, a Japanese translator who worked on his books. Quiet, deep, and understanding him without words. She hears what I hear, people's stories. She doesn't write them, though, she translates them, from language to language, from culture to culture, he explained. By our 30th anniversary, everyone gathered again, the kids, the grandkids. Ethan already had 3, Sophia 2, and Yuki was expecting their first. The restaurant and hotel were thriving, now managed mostly by Stacy, yes, that nurse. She turned out to be a born manager. "We're getting old," Jason said, watching the younger ones laugh. "Growing old gracefully," I corrected him, with dignity. "Do you remember that day?" he asked. He didn't need to say which day. "I remember," I said softly. "Do you regret anything?" "Nothing. Not even the pain. It forged us," I said, shaking my head. That night I dreamed of Rose again, older this time, as she'd looked before she died. "Well, sweetheart, are you happy with your life?" she asked. "I am." "Thank you," I said. "Don't thank me. Thank yourself. You made the right choice, to forgive, to live, to love. I just gave you a little push. That's all I was sent to do," she waved her hand. "Sent by who?" I asked. "Who knows?" She smiled. "Fate, God, the universe, call it whatever you like. The point is, it all worked out, and it'll keep working out, you'll see. Your great-grandkids will change the world." I woke up feeling it hadn't been a dream, but a visit. I told Jason. "Maybe she really does still come around," he said thoughtfully. "She's welcome anywhere, on both sides." A year later, our first great-grandchild was born, Ethan's eldest son's baby. They named him Rowan, after great-grandma Rose. The boy was born with a rose-shaped birthmark on his left shoulder. "Marked," said Esmeralda when she came to visit. "This one's special, like Rose." And it was as if that birth opened the floodgates. Great-grandchildren started arriving one after another. 9 of them in 5 years. All healthy, bright, and gifted. One started drawing at 2, another read at 3, another dreamed things that came true. Rose conjured an entire dynasty of magical children, Jason laughed, playing with the newest baby. "Just loved ones," I said. "And love is magic." For my 70th birthday, 100 people gathered, family, friends, and those we'd once helped. We closed the restaurant to outsiders and celebrated privately. Noah read an excerpt from his new novel, a story about 4 generations of women, each saving her family in her own way. Everyone knew where it came from. Sophia presented her new project, a global disaster prediction system she called the Rose Network. Ethan gave me a portrait, me surrounded by the whole family, and behind us, a translucent image of Rose watching over us. "She's here," little Rowan whispered, pointing to the corner of the hall. Grandma Rose came. The kids laughed, but the adults fell silent. We knew children see what adults have forgotten how to notice. "Let her be," I said softly. "If Rose is with us, that means everything's right." Jason stood with his glass raised. "I want to make a toast. 45 years ago, I almost made the worst mistake of my life. I almost lost everything, my wife, my kids, myself. But fate, in the form of the fortune teller Rose, gave me a second chance. And I took it. We took it. We built this life, with the restaurant, the hotel, the children, the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren. And you know what? I'm even grateful for the pain. Because without it, none of this happiness would exist. To Rose. To second chances. To life." Everyone raised their glasses. And just then, a photograph fell from the wall, the old one, the very first picture of Jason and me, young and newly married. It fell but didn't break, landing softly on the carpet. Behind it, we found an envelope taped to the wall. "What's that?" Jason asked, surprised. We opened it. Inside was a letter from Rose, written 20 years ago. "If you're reading this, it means you've reached Catherine's 70th birthday. Which means I was right, you made it. I'm writing this because I know I'll leave before that day comes. But I'll always be with you, in every good deed, and every family saved, and every child born. You are my continuation, just as I was my Susie's. The chain of kindness never breaks. Thank you for believing a strange fortune teller, for listening, for forgiving, and for loving again. Live long and happily. And remember, I'm near. Always near. Yours, Rose." There wasn't a dry eye in the room. Even the men cried. Little Rowan came up to me and said, "Don't cry, great-grandma. She's smiling. Look, she's right next to you, smiling." And I believed him, because I could feel it, the warmth beside me, the scent of herbs and wood smoke, the sense of being protected. Rose was there. The evening ended with gypsy songs. Esmeralda had brought young musicians from her clan. They sang, danced, told fortunes to anyone who wanted. Just like long ago, at weddings no one else remembered. When everyone had gone, Jason and I sat together in the empty hall. "It's been a good life," he said. "A very good one. But it's not over yet," I replied. "What do you mean?" "I mean we still have strength left. Let's open a school, a culinary one, but also a school of life. We'll teach people not just how to cook, but how to live, to forgive, to love, to start over." "The Rose School?" Jason smiled. "Why not?" And we did, the following year. A small school attached to the restaurant, where people learned to cook while also hearing stories. About Rose, about us, about other families. People came from all over the country, couples on the brink of divorce, those who'd lost hope, those who no longer believed in love. We taught them, not with lectures, but with example, with stories, with shared work in the kitchen. Nothing brings people together like cooking a meal side by side. One couple, both in their 40s and ready to divorce after 20 years of marriage, confessed. "We came here to say goodbye. We thought this would be our last attempt before separating. But your story, your school had helped us see each other again. Thank you." Another young woman, betrayed by her husband, said, "I thought I'd never be able to forgive. But you showed me that it's possible. Hard, painful, slow, but possible. If there's something worth fighting for." The school became famous. Articles were written, TV shows filmed. The place where they teach forgiveness, that's what they called us. But we didn't just teach forgiveness. We taught people to live, after pain, after betrayal, after loss. To live fully, brightly, with love. By my 80th birthday, more than 1,000 people had graduated. And nearly all of them wrote, "You saved our family. You saved us. You saved our faith in love." We continued Rose's work, Jason said at the celebration. She saved one family at a time. We've saved dozens, even hundreds. She would be proud, I nodded. That night, Rose came to me in a dream, for the last time. Young, beautiful, in her same bright skirt. "Well, sweetheart, happy with your life?" "Very. Thank you," I said. "Don't thank me. Thank yourself. You made the right choices, to forgive, to live, to love. I just gave you a little push. That's what I was meant to do." "Meant by who?" I asked. "Who knows? Fate, God, the universe, call it what you want. What matters is, it all worked out. And it'll keep working out. You'll see, your great-great-grandkids will change the world, she smiled. When I woke, I felt a strange sense of completion. I told Jason. Then it's time to pass the torch, he said. And we did. The restaurant, to Stacy and her daughter. The hotel, to Ethan's grandson. The school, to Sophia, who came back from Switzerland with her 3 kids, ready to continue our mission. And we just lived. Quietly, peacefully, in a little house outside the city. We spent time with our great-grandchildren when they came for the holidays. I wrote my memoirs, Jason painted landscapes. Turned out he'd had a talent all along, just never the time. At 85, I finished my book, The Fortune Teller at the Door, a story about how evil turned into good. Noah helped edit it, his publishing house released it. The book became a bestseller. But that wasn't what mattered. What mattered was that, at the book signing, a 15-year-old girl came up to me with her mother. "You wrote this?" she asked. I nodded. "Thank you. My mom was going to leave my dad. He made a mistake, but I gave her your book. She read it and decided to give him another chance. Now we're happy, and I have a baby brother." And right then I thought, this was why it was all worth it. For that girl, for her little brother, for their family, for thousands of others like them. Jason passed away at 92, peacefully, in his sleep, holding my hand. His last words were, "Thank you for the second chance." I made the most of it. I lived 5 more years. I watched our great-grandchildren grow, the school flourish, and our story turn into a legend. When my time came, I left peacefully, surrounded by family. And in that final moment, I saw them all, Rose, Jason, even Valerie, calm and radiant. "Come," Rose said. "There's still work to do." "What kind of work?" I asked. "Saving," she smiled. "You can help from the other side, too." I proved that. And I went, with a light heart, a clear conscience, and endless gratitude for the life I had lived. But this isn't the end. It's a beginning. Because the school continues, the great-grandchildren grow, and our story keeps being told, passed down from generation to generation. And somewhere out there, in another city, another country, another Rose is knocking on another door to save another family. The circle closes and begins again. Because good never dies. It transforms, reborn and handed forward, like a torch, like light, like love. And the fortune teller at the door keeps knocking, on hearts, on fates, on lives. Listen to her. She knows what she's doing.